Hello everybody, welcome back to Planet X News. It is May 25th, 2017. Ladies and gentlemen, we seem to have a lot of earthquake activity going on in the state of California and also around the world. But before we start into this report, I received a lot of messages over the past hour pertaining to why some of the videos that I had up on YouTube were being taken down or deleted. Well, it just so happens that some of these YouTube trolls, they don't want this information going up on YouTube. You have to remember something. This is their main job. This is what they do for the government. They do not want this information getting out there. They do not want you listening to me or our physicist. That much is a fact. So they file false copyright takedowns, false guideline strike takedowns with YouTube, but what they don't understand is they're false. So within a matter of minutes, YouTube recognizes that and they simply put your video back up, and it's beginning to be a situation with YouTube where they're recognizing these false claims, and they'll probably start suspending or terminating YouTube channels that do that, because that is grounds for terminating your channel. I know exactly who is doing it, and they are going to be dealt with very, very soon. But anyways, getting back to what's happening right now in the state of California, as you can see, we're going to go ahead and click on this earthquake right here. 31 minutes ago, a magnitude 3.31 was recorded west of Malibu, California. Now, I know a lot of people were, sending me emails and making comments and stating, oh, I live right near the San Andreas Fault and I didn't feel anything. Well, ladies and gentlemen, whenever we're monitoring these earthquakes and these earthquake swarms, sometimes they are so deep that, yes, you are not going to feel them on the surface. I would probably say, anything over a magnitude 3 or 3.5, getting close to a 4, you're definitely going to feel that. So there have been numerous earthquakes. I'm going to go ahead and zoom in here a little bit, and not all of the earthquakes are listed on this particular earthquake map, but we're going to get to the USGS, because as I was reviewing this information this morning, there was a swarm of earthquakes from the top of California all the way down to the Mexican border, and it was riding directly along the San Andreas Fault. And we do monitor this. I monitor it every single day because California is definitely in danger of any type of catastrophic earthquake that hits this region. They are going to have major problems. We are already seeing major issues with the snow melt in the Sierra Nevada mountains. This is going to continue, and this is going to definitely be an issue. But let's go ahead and jump over to the USGS and take a look at what's going on over there. Now, I normally don't like to use the USGS because they remove so much information. Now, these are earthquakes over the last 7 days. And these are earthquakes all recorded by the USGS. We talked about the earthquake that was in Ohio the other day, magnitude 3.4. I looked this earthquake up, and it was actually over a 4.0. But they downgraded it to a 3.4. We have another small earthquake right here, Lafayette, Georgia. And again, ladies and gentlemen, these are not really earthquake areas. Every once in a while, every blue moon, you'll see a small quake. But these earthquakes are possibly going to increase, east of the Mississippi. The east coast of the United States they're not impervious to earthquakes. That much is a fact. So anyone living on the east coast of the United States, you know, in the days, the weeks, the months to come, you may experience your first earthquake. But getting back over here to the west coast of Florida, or excuse me, California. For some reason, I have Florida in my mind today. But California, you can see, I'm going to go ahead and zoom in here just a little bit. These red lines, these are the fault lines. This is going to go ahead and update real quick. Now you can see a lot of these earthquakes have already been removed. There were earthquakes from just about where my pointer is all the way down to the Mexican border. Well, that's not good. These earthquakes were swarming in this area. And then now we have this earthquake of 3.3 in Malibu. And we're going to go ahead and click on this, and we're going to see if we could find out any more additional information on this earthquake as far as the different devices, and see if we could get other readings. Let's go, and we're going to click on this. This is from Caltech over here. So just bear with me. No, basically irrelevant. We're going to go ahead and scan back to the USGS. Now, we've also seen quite a bit of activity once again up here in Seattle. A lot of these earthquakes are not being reported. We have an earthquake right over here, not too far from Calgary. But let's move over into Alaska, because they had a few pretty good quakes yesterday that were way above magnitude 5. We had a 5.1 here, and I do believe this one was a 5.8. They did have a tsunami warning, but ladies and gentlemen, these earthquakes, they're not going to go away. They are going to increase. There is just no doubt about it. Now, we're going to get into this coronal mass ejection, this shock wave, this solar shock wave that was spotted on the sun. And for all of you that don't know what a coronal mass ejection, so whenever you hear me and I refer to what we call a CME, so I'm just going to go ahead and read this information to you. We'll get a little education here, because the bottom line, ladies and gentlemen, there is so much more to investigating Planet X or Nibiru. You know, this whole entire, what people think is a theory, well, we are way beyond a theory. We have already shown everyone concrete evidence of what is happening in our solar system. So on my channels, the Nibiru channel and Planet X News, you know, just because I am not showing these daily picture shows and, you know, using all of these webcams in Alaska and Mexico, and, you know, showing a lot of these sun anomalies that I just can't explain. So therefore, I choose not to use them or even show them, because at this point in time, ladies and gentlemen, all of that nonsense is just that. It's complete nonsense. It has no bearing on anything that we're doing in investigating Planet X, Nibiru, again, whatever you want to call it, Nemesis, the brown dwarf star, the brown dwarf. Okay, the bottom line is, the way that I'm thinking is just this. These objects are affecting the sun. Between the sun and our planet, that is the most danger that we are in. So if you're looking for picture shows, then maybe jaunt over to WSO and maybe some other channels. But we are delving into the real scientific evidence of what is happening with Planet X. And when I use the word Planet X, you know, I'm kind of using it in a broad term, meaning, you know, like the X Factor, Planet X. So the bottom line is we have more than one object in our solar system. There is no doubt about that. And the way that it affects the sun is the most dangerous. And I want all of you to grasp that concept. I've been wanting to have this conversation with all of the subscribers and viewers for some time now. So just as we know, you know, my channel's not dedicated to picture shows anymore. I used to show all of those photographs because I thought they were relevant. But right now, where we are at as a human species, we don't have time to be watching picture shows. We need to learn, and we need to get the concrete evidence on what is happening. And that's what we're going to report on this channel and the Nibiru channel. So I want to try to teach all of you, as I learn also, but I want to try to teach all of you what to look for and what is happening, so you completely understand it. And you may think some of this is boring, but the fact of the matter is, ladies and gentlemen, some of this information, most of this information, or all of this information at one point in time may save your life, and it may save your family's life. So let's get into what these coronal mass ejections are. Now, this is Space Weather Live. This is kind of the best definition that I could find for all of you, and it is, what is a coronal mass ejection? I'll just go ahead and read it for you. A coronal mass ejection, or a CME, is a giant cloud of solar plasma drenched with magnetic field lines that are blown away from the sun during a strong, long-duration solar flare and filament eruptions. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is why myself and Chris Potter and the physicist are always paying very close attention to the sun, because the sun could literally end the Earth in a matter of seconds, and then life ceases to exist. You know, back a few years ago, Major Ed Dames wrote a book called The Kill Shot. And the kill shot is related to a massive CME impacting the Earth. And ladies and gentlemen, that's what we're being faced with in the next 24 hours. A solar shock wave. Now, apparently this CME, or this solar shock wave, or even they refer to it as a solar tsunami, it's not going to be a kill shot. But the fact of the matter is, we can have damage to our telecommunications network. We can have damage to our electrical infrastructure. And there is a very high possibility that the increase in the solar wind and these cosmic particles and solar particles coming from the sun could once again increase the amount of earthquakes. Therefore, when the earthquakes occur, that creates the devastation. Please realize that, you do understand that people lose their lives in these earthquakes. This also can increase the volcanic activity. We are already seeing absolutely insane weather around the world. And listen, ladies and gentlemen, people are losing their lives because of this climate chaos and this wicked weather. Okay, so again, this is not just about a big picture show. This is about science and trying to find out what is happening with our sun on a daily basis. Because, believe it or not, our sun can be the biggest threat that we have. Not Planet X, not Nibiru, but the sun. Reactions coming from the sun are impacting our planet on a daily basis. And this is a game changer. This is definitely a game changer. Now, I'm going to show you a CME, or a coronal mass ejection, and this was an absolutely amazing ejection, and this was recorded back in the year 2000, February 27th. Now, that's probably the largest coronal mass ejection that I've ever seen. We're not facing anything like that, but this is just an example. And this is a coronagraph, and this is on the SOHO spacecraft, and you know, it tells you down here all of the information about the spacecraft and you know, the mechanics of it. But just to be in layman's terms, whenever we're looking at this dark object here, it's called the occulter. This blocks out the rays of the sun so we can see these types of ejections. The white circle right here, that basically signifies the size of the sun. So you can see, once you block out the rays of the sun with the occulter, you can see all of this action. Okay, and this is what we're looking at every single day. And I'll leave a link to this if any of you want to review this information. Now, this is back in 2013. This was another amazing coronal mass ejection right here. And that looks like it literally just came from all avenues of the sun, just not out of one portion of the sun. Now, there's been a lot of talk about this grand solar minimum. Some scientists are saying that we are in this grand solar minimum, but I'm not seeing the signs. You know, other YouTube channels are mentioning it. It's being mentioned in science articles and blah, 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 but I am not seeing any signs of a grand solar minimum. I'm just not. Maybe others are. But regardless of that, we have to pay attention to what is occurring on the sun. That is the bottom line. Because again, I'm going to repeat myself. As far as having a direct threat from Planet X or Nibiru, there is that possibility, but the biggest possibility of a threat to our planet is coming from the sun and the sun's interaction with these brown dwarf stars or nemesis, whatever you want to call it. But I would really like for a lot of you to start paying attention to the videos that are coming out pertaining to the space weather, because the space weather is what you need to pay attention to, not picture shows on other channels. Even though they're pretty cool to look at, 99% of them really can't be explained. I can't explain them, and neither can these other channels. So, ladies and gentlemen, we are getting closer and closer and closer to the point where we may not have the internet. We may not have electricity. And when that point in time comes, you're not going to have YouTube. You're not going to have a cell phone. You're not going to have a radio. You're not going to have a television. So, gaining as much knowledge as you possibly can right now, every single day, on what is happening, that is what you should be doing. That's my goal. That is what my YouTube channels are about. Now, whenever we make a discovery, hey, fantastic. We're going to put it out there. There's no doubt about that. And we've made some incredible discoveries over the past few months, and that's what it's all about, investigating and finding out what is happening, because we know the powers that be aren't going to say anything to us. They're too involved in closing this information down, spreading disinformation, creating the trolling campaigns. And mainstream media, well, all they're cared about, all they care about is Donald Trump and what he's doing. It's all a farce. World War III, yeah, I think that's completely fake. But they just want to keep your mind on something else and not what is happening around the world. That much is a fact. Now, we're going to go ahead and we're going to actually look at this CME. And this came in, a couple days ago. And I'm going to go ahead and just speed this up so you can see it. Now, you're going to see it come from kind of over in this direction, but in actuality, it's coming right at you. I'm going to speed this up just a little bit more. And there we have it. Now, again, that's not a very strong CME or coronal mass ejection, but ladies and gentlemen, that is enough. That is enough to bring this straight towards Earth. And that CME was Earth facing. And the more and more information that I'm gathering as the time goes on, like I said, they said this was going to be a glancing blow. Okay, well, that's what they're saying. I'm telling you it's going to be a direct hit. From what I'm seeing, it's going to be a direct hit. And there is a lot of solar energy behind this CME that will be coming in behind it. Now, whenever something like this impacts the Earth, well, directly, it's all going to depend on the Earth's rotation and who's going to be facing it. But the bottom line is the whole entire globe, the whole Earth is going to feel it. Just not the daytime side or the nighttime side. The whole entire planet is going to feel this. So we can see the ejection. It seems to come from over here, but in actuality, ladies and gentlemen, it's coming directly at you. And it is a small CME. It's nothing that's going to wipe the planet out. I did have some questions about that, and we're going to answer all of this right now. It will not wipe out the planet. We're going to look at the SDO footage right now because I have seen more activity on the solar dynamic observatory here. Large coronal hole at the top. You can see it's already joined a coronal hole that formed right here. We're going to take a look at this little solar tsunami that was forming. And this actually forms right here. And it kind of looks like a coronal hole opening up and then collapsing upon itself. But ladies and gentlemen, whenever that opened up, that is what released the coronal mass ejection directly Earth facing. Now we see another coronal hole that's, it's constantly on the bottom of the sun. Earlier this morning, whenever I was looking at some of the SDO footage, I noticed that the left side of the sun actually, for the first time in a long time, looked pretty good, as you can see. It's got a pretty solid color, but within a matter of hours, coronal holes are now opening up. And I hope you can see this. You see this darkening start to appear right where my cursor is. Once again, that's not good because the way you're looking at the sun, this is Earth facing. So whatever's going to occur over here on the left side of the sun is going to impact our planet. This is just the positioning that we're in. And you can see the darkening, it is opening. So probably within the next 4 to 8 hours, we'll get another read on what's happening over here. But another way that we find out is by looking at the X-ray footage. And I'm going to go directly to that right now so we can see this. And it does not look good by any means. So as I was just showing you, you have the dark coronal hole up here, which basically led to connecting to this coronal hole, which is basically almost like a really big line directly into a sunspot. But this is what I'm referring to over here. When I was referring to the sun was looking pretty good over here, yeah, it was looking pretty good till the coronal holes started to open up. When you're looking at this X-ray imagery, now you can see what was underneath there. And this is bad news. This is really bad news. And you can see the corona, which is all of the light emitting area right around here. Look, it's completely gone on the top of the sun. It's completely gone on the bottom of the sun, and it's barely illuminated on the left side. So regardless of the CME coming in within the next 24 hours, we have a lot more activity blooming for the next several days after this CME goes away. We're still going to have effects from whatever is going to transpire on this left side of the sun, which will be turning towards Earth. This will be Earth facing within the next several days. So we're going to go ahead and jump over to another screen here real quick. And we're going to actually look at this. This is a solar wind predictor model. This actually takes and it gives you a prediction, kind of. That's what I like to say. It kind of gives you a prediction over the course of 7 days. Now let's pay very close attention. And we're going to see all of this energy coming from the sun if you follow my cursor right there. Now, that looks to me like a dead-on coronal mass ejection hit. That doesn't look like a glancing blow to me. Does it look like a glancing blow to you? I've cleaned my eyeglasses and I don't wear glasses, but that looks like a dead-on hit. And again, ladies and gentlemen, you have to remember something. These are computer models, and these models have been known to make mistakes before. And I do believe that some of the information that was coming out over the past 48 hours before, the predictor models were saying a glancing blow. Well, what I'm seeing is a direct hit. And I'm sure as all of you are looking at this right now, I'm sure you're seeing the same identical thing. Now, maybe other channels that reported on this didn't want to alarm people, but I don't believe in putting out false information. Why would I say, hey, listen, oh, don't worry about it. It's just going to be a glancing blow. Just go about your everyday life. Yeah, okay. But when the fact of the matter is, it's just not going to be a glancing blow. It's going to be a direct hit. So I think you should have the correct and proper information. Maybe their information was outdated. Maybe they need to update it. Looking over here, we're looking at the plasma density. Dealing with these CMEs, these coronal mass ejections, this is what we want to pay attention to. And as you can see, there is a massive spike in this plasma density. And it's going to start on the 26th. It's going to start rising. And then you'll see between the 26th and the 27th of May, that spike is going to go sky high. That's going to be our impact point from this coronal mass ejection. Now, I don't want any of you to think that this is going to be like something from, one of those day after tomorrow movies. Okay, it's not going to be like that. Many people around the world may not even know what's happening, but we do have a threat to our telecommunications, our electrical grid, and the increase in earthquake activity. And those things, the increase in volcanic activity and the earthquake activity, that is what costs lives. Not the impact of this CME, although a larger CME, such as depicted in Major Ed Dames's book, The Kill Shot, well, that's a lot different. But we're not looking at a kill shot right here, but we are looking at a direct hit from a CME. And this could cause electrical grids to go down. A few weeks ago, we were talking about it almost every single day on YouTube. And we weren't facing a coronal mass ejection direct hit. And we still don't know what the reasons were why these electrical grids went down all around the world. But at some points, there were increases in the solar wind and charged particles impacting the Earth. So just so you know, this is pretty much, this is what we're faced with. I'm going to go ahead and move over to another screen here as soon as I can get out of here. Now, referring to the solar wind, I mean, this is what we're looking at right now. Okay, the solar wind is actually not that high. It's actually at a moderate level. But what I'm noticing is I'm noticing these pulses of energy that are coming in. And you'll notice, you can see it. Look at this area right here. Okay, we should normally be in this green or light blue area, but it's starting to raise, and you can see the color change. That color change, that's a pulse of energy that is coming in and deflecting off of the bow shock. And that, once again, the bow shock is this imaginary arch right here in front of the Earth. This is what is supposed to deflect this solar energy. Now, once again, we are seeing a reversal in some of this energy. You can see right where my cursor is, you can see the arrows pointing the opposite direction. They're actually pointing towards the sun. That is not normal. We don't want to see that. The reason why we don't want to see that is because that radiation is now coming back and looping around, and I'm going to show you that, and I do show that to you all the time when we look at the radiation levels. So I'm going to go ahead and expand this so everybody can take a good look at it. Okay, now here is our satellite belt. This is the dotted line here. This is the daylight part of the Earth, the nighttime part of the Earth, and you can see very quickly how these charged particles and this radiation comes in. It is the red band, and all of this is encircling our entire planet. It has been like this, ladies and gentlemen, for months. If you're new to my channel, then I report on this all the time because this is critical. This is what every human being on this planet is facing. And we are also facing extreme ultraviolet rays. They are sky high around the world. Sky high. So just a little word of caution, ladies and gentlemen. We're moving closer and closer to summertime in the northern hemisphere. I think we're going to have some extreme temperatures. I think the weather situation is going to get even crazier. But if you're going to be outside and you're letting your children outside, you know, the prolonged exposure to the ultraviolet rays and the influx of this radiation, it's just not good for small children. I'm going to be very honest with you. I mentioned yesterday, a few days ago, I was over a friend's house, just stopped to see how he was doing, and his neighbor had two little babies sitting in a little baby pool. And I mean, these babies were so white, they looked like little cotton balls. No protection whatsoever, sitting in a little pool of water, and the sun was out. There wasn't a cloud in the sky, nothing. In the middle of the afternoon, and the UV rays were over 12. Over 12. And for those two little children, and they were infants, less than a year old, very damaging for their skin. I actually wanted to say something, but my friend was like, oh my God, no, don't say anything to him. Don't say anything to that man. You know, and it took everything I had to turn around and walk away. And I'm thinking to myself, wow, this is a grown adult. Are you stupid? I mean, I was over at my friend's house for 45 minutes, and for 45 minutes, I couldn't take my eyes off of those two children sitting in that little pool. And they were fair-skinned children with, very, very, very light blonde hair, and their skin was like almost white like a little cotton ball. And I'd sure like to know what happened later on when that idiot parent took those children back in the house. Using sunscreen, ladies and gentlemen, listen, I don't use it. I mean, you're basically putting a chemical on your skin. Your skin's going to absorb all of this. It's just not good. I kind of wear very, very thin, light cotton long sleeve shirts. If I'm going to be outside in this sun, I wear a hat. I've actually bought darker sunglasses because the rays of the sun are so intense I can't even see. I'm constantly squinting, which gives you a headache. I mean, the sun just doesn't even look like it used to. It's like this big, white, bright ball in the sky. It seems like the orange and the yellow sun that we knew as children and, teenagers and young adults, well, that's gone. Now we're faced with this big white object in the sky that's blinding and very intense. So, take precaution. Heed my warning. And most of all, as I mentioned in the very beginning, these solar reports are important. They are more important than a picture show on a YouTube channel. All of the information that several channels are putting out there related to climate chaos and things that are happening with the sun and the earth, that is the most important information that you can get. Trust me. It's very hard for me to sit here and explain that we are in a very serious situation with our planet. Other people are going to tell you the complete opposite. Just because Joe Blow living on the East Coast isn't feeling earthquakes, but Mary Jane over there on the West Coast is, okay, so Joe Blow on the East Coast, he doesn't care. But guess what? Earthquakes do occur on the East Coast of the United States. We have the New Madrid fault line to deal with, and we are starting to see earthquakes in that area. So, ladies and gentlemen, we're all brothers and sisters here. The color of your skin, your religion, whether you're male or female, none of that matters anymore. We're all in this together. We need to gather as much information as possible. And right now, this scientific information is what everyone should be listening to. This is what everyone should be watching. Not some damn picture show on a YouTube channel. Even though that is pertinent information, right now we need the scientific and the astronomical information. That's what we need. That much is a fact. And if we make a discovery through some of these photographs, hey, so be it. But right now, getting these reports out, maintaining this information on an hourly basis is very important. I mean, right now, based on the knowledge that I get every single day, it's how I'm running my life. If I see that we are under extreme radiation levels, I'm not going outside. I mean, we're talking extreme radiation levels that with prolonged exposure causes cancer. Do any of you want cancer? I mean, no, you don't. So what I'm saying is, let's try to be smart about this. Let's try to watch the video information, and if you don't understand something, listen, email me. I will try to get to it. Or better yet, just ask the question in the comment section. We have a lot of people that have been watching my YouTube channels for quite some time. They have educated themselves. These are smart people. If I'm not there to answer your question, I'm sure one of them will answer your question. But I am telling you this much. Beware of the trolls in the YouTube comment section, because they are meant to tell you disinformation and misinformation. And don't pay any attention to whenever they're telling you Scott's a criminal, Scott's a child molester, you know, Scott's this, Scott's that. That is what they are paid to do. Ladies and gentlemen, look at the information, read the information, watch the information, and learn it. Because one day, someday soon, all of our lives are going to depend on it. This is Scott from Planet X News. Thank you for watching.